Welcome back. Hope you have gone through the part 1 presentation on error correction. In error correction part 1, we learned that there are three categories of errors in English, namely grammatical errors, logical errors, and errors caused by mother tongue influence. In part 1 discussion, we looked at grammatical errors in detail. In this discussion, which is a continuation of part 1, we shall look at logical errors and errors due to mother tongue influence. What is logic? Logic is a science or method of reasoning of a person's ability to argue and convince. When we think logically, we reason correctly. Whatever we speak or write must have a logic in it. A sentence sans logic is meaningless. Logic is the correctness of the expression of an idea in a sentence using the most appropriate words. Inappropriate words make the sentence illogical. For example, a positive idea cannot be expressed with negative words and vice versa. So the selection of right words is the key for making logically correct sentences. The idea expressed and the words used to express that idea should have a rational relationship. But this rational relationship is not found in many of our sentences because our very thought process is often illogical. So, even if a sentence is grammatically correct, if it lacks logical sense, it cannot be considered as error-free. Let us look into some examples. Look at this sentence given in the slide. The underlined words will help us to identify the logical errors in the sentence. In order to identify the logical errors in a sentence, first of all, we must understand what is expressed in that sentence and how it is expressed, especially the choice of words. The woman mentioned in the sentence is not even 30 years old. That means she is definitely at the spring of her life. Then the word prematurely is inappropriate there. According to the sentence, the woman lost all her youthful hopes of love and happiness at a tender age. The word spring expresses color, fragrance, beauty, passion, love, and happiness. If so, how can the woman be at the spring of her life? Indeed, the word spring is illogical in this context. So replace spring with the word autumn because the woman mentioned in the sentence reached the fag end of her life, leading a colorless, hopeless, miserable life. Look at this sentence given in the slide. In example E26, two words, aspects and content, are underlined. Contend means struggle or be in rivalry or competition. Aspect is a particular part of somebody or something. Contend or struggle with aspects is an illogical usage. We struggle when there is an opposition or a barrier. According to the sentence, the man has to contend with two things. They are the nature and the fellow men. They are a resistance the man has to contend with. When we try to change this society, the nature and fellow human beings show an initial resistance. This is quite natural. Hence, the right word to be used in the place of aspects is resistances. The proper interpretation of the word contend helps us to find out this logical mistake. Look at this sentence given in the slide. In this sentence, the underlined word probably is used wrongly. Why? Probable means likely to happen or prove correct. The word expresses a possibility, not a certainty. The first part of the sentence affirmatively says that the illicit liquor is highly toxic, not the auxiliary word is. If the liquor is highly toxic, definitely it contains lethal chemicals. The word probably expresses uncertainty. There is no logic in using that word in the sentence, so probably must be omitted from the sentence. Two more examples of sentences with logical errors are given. Refer the examples E28 and E29. In the example 28, two contrasting opinions are expressed about wind farms. The first part of the sentence is a clear positive statement about wind farms. In the second part, someone thinks against them. So there is a contradiction in the sentence. Look at the underlined words, whereas others. This usage makes the sentence illogical. To make it logical, we must say who thinks wind farms are an excellent way to generate green electricity. As this is not done in the sentence, the only way to make it logical is to replace the usage with but someone. When we use the word others in a sentence, it must be preceded by somebody who does a different action. So the correct sentence will be, now let us look at example 29. Note the two underlined words, reversing and increasing. Reversing is the key word in this sentence. The finance minister wants to reverse the raging inflation. It means he wants to decrease the inflation. Quite logical. But why should he reverse the increasing growth rate? All finance ministers try to increase growth rate. So to make this sentence logical, replace the word increasing with slowing. When you try to reverse the slowing growth rate, you are actually speeding up the growth rate. This is logical and sensible. Errors caused by the influence of the mother tongue is a big problem faced by the non-native speakers of English. This is because their mother tongue is not English. As long as your mother tongue or the first language you learn is not English, there is every chance of making mistakes when you speak or write English. The unique features of our mother tongue, like grammar, sentence patterns, and usages, influence our English. We generally think in our mother tongue and then translate our mother tongue thoughts into English. This is an erroneous practice. English is a unique language and it has its own method of expression. We must learn the peculiar aspects of English to speak or write standard English, which is completely free from the influence of our mother tongue. Our mother tongue is influenced by our culture. A language is evolved from a culture. Each language has its own culture, and culture varies from one another. That's why we can see changes in the style of expression in different languages. So, When we use a different language like English, we must be aware about the uniqueness, peculiarities, and nuances of that language so that we can successfully resist the influence of our own mother tongue on the alien language. This would protect us from possible errors when we handle a different language like English. Let us look into some of the MTI errors. Look at sentences in this slide. Here are some simple sentences that show mother tongue influenced errors. They belong to Indianism. Indianisms are words and phrases that are commonly used in India but are not accepted as correct English elsewhere in the world. In the sentences shown in the slide, the underlined words make the sentences wrong. Look at the first example. What does that question convey? Can we have a bad name? Definitely not. Then we can have a good name either. The good in the above sentence comes from a direct translation of the Hindi equivalent. Aapka shubh naam kya hai? See how the mother tongue influence causes errors. To correct the question, omit the word good. Now the second example. The underlined word advises is the mistake here because in English, the word advise does not have plural form as advises. But in our mother tongue, we do have plural for this word. So, we make this mistake. In order to suggest more than one advice, we must replace advice with a phrase, pieces of advice. In the third sentence, the word order of the underlined words is wrong. This is because, once again, it is a translation of a sentence in a native Indian language. In Indian languages, the word order is like this. But in English, there is a slight change. Instead of my both, it must be both my. So we should say, both my eyes are bad. Look at sentences in this slide. In the first sentence, the word saying is wrongly used. In our mother tongue, we say our opinion. But in English, we express our opinion. So saying must be replaced with expressing. That is the usage of standard English. In the example E34, the speaker felt pity for the beggar. This sounds sensible only in our mother tongue. But an Englishman takes pity for someone. This is the expressionistic uniqueness of English. Hence, let us replace felt with took. So the correct sentence is, the condition of the beggar was so wretched that I took pity for him. All these examples show how direct translation can cause errors in the usages, word order, and choice of words in a sentence in English. Let us discuss some more Indianisms. There are two mistakes in the first example. First, you can't use tell in this situation. You must use speak. Concerned person is a worried person. To get the right meaning, we should change the word order, that is, person concerned, or we can say the person in charge. In example E36, the underlined word back is wrongly used. This is a very common mistake in Indian English. Never use back to express time. Instead, we should use the word ago. Look at sentences in this slide. In example 37, the word intimate is used to express the meaning inform. As a verb, intimate means make known. So there is no mistake in using that word here. But intimate is an informal word. It's not used on formal occasions. It's not a commonly used word for business purposes. Hence, better use let know in place of intimate. Then the sentence will be, she said that she would let me know the details of the program. Note the omission of the preposition with. Look at example 38. What's wrong with the underlined word frankly in that sentence? Frankly means openly showing one's thoughts and feeling very clearly. Non-native speakers may know this meaning, but they don't know the correct use of this word. In English, the word frankly has a negative connotation. We use frankly when we express something negative or unpleasant. In the given example, the speaker is satisfied with the accommodation. It is a positive thing, so the use of frankly is not appropriate here. The right word to be used in place of frankly is really. The word really expresses the speaker's positive feeling openly. Look at the example given in the slide. You can see many parts of the sentence underlined. A non-native speaker of English may not find anything wrong with this complex sentence, but a native speaker of English will find it as wordy. Wordy means using unnecessary words in a sentence. A wordy sentence is the result of mother tongue influence. In the given sentence, we can condense many of the underlined parts. For example, people who love peace into pacifist. Put an end to the war into ceasefire. And countries that engaged in war into waging countries. And also, the word take must be replaced with make. Make effort is the right expression. Hence, the reconstructed sentence is, pacifists around the world should make an effort for ceasefire between waging countries. See how brevity brings beauty to the sentence. Well, in the two discussions on error correction, we have covered the main categories of errors in English, namely grammatical, logical, and mother tongue influenced based. After going through these sessions, I think you may have understood that mere mastering of grammatical rules alone will not help you in identifying all errors in English. In addition to a sound knowledge in grammar, you need to read voraciously and think logically to answer well the questions based on error correction. All the best.